All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the channel where we teach dentists and doctors, busy professionals, and anyone that's interested in learning and investing in real estate, the principles of how to achieve financial freedom through passive investing in real estate. My name is Johnny Walker. I'm a successful endodontist as well as a self-made millionaire in real estate investing. Today is a very special day because today we are going to be having our very first guest that we're going to be interviewing. And this is a very special guest. He is the principal, founder, and president of Proud Living, which is a vertically integrated multifamily real estate company. TJ Caleca, welcome to the show.
It's my pleasure, buddy. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So it's been a long time coming. TJ is one of my mentors in multifamily real estate. I learned a lot from him. And so we want to have a very frank discussion about multifamily real estate, and perhaps he's going to share some strategies, share some tips on how we too can build immense wealth through investing. TJ, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with multifamily real estate investing?
Sure, it's my pleasure, man. Thank you for having me again. I own right now just under 2,000 apartments in northern New Jersey, and the majority of our units are through a value add strategy. And as Johnny said, Proud Living is a vertically integrated business, and it's very important to us that we protect our brand, and we do that by controlling as many parts of the life cycle of a project as humanly possible. So the property management, the leasing, the creation of the deal, the fundraising, all those things are done through Proud Living, and that's where we are now. It's certainly not where I started. I started buying real estate just about 15 years ago in 2009, 2010, and really had gotten into the real estate business in a way where I felt that it would be done as sort of a hobby. And, being a younger kid in my early 20s, realistically knowing nothing, I thought I was going to be able to just buy real estate and make money while I slept. I found out very quickly that that's not how it works. Generally, if you want to make money, you have to be investing in assets that are underutilized, undermanaged. There needs to be a value add component to the asset. And when you're doing that, you're not making money while you sleep. Generally, you're going to be losing money along the way till you start to actually make some money. So that was a great lesson for me, and ultimately what got me into the real estate business full time. The fact that the real estate operational value add business is so capital intensive and so labor intensive, it was like 5 full-time jobs really at once. So doing it as a hobby, and making money while I slept, that was a nice fantasy, but I learned out very quickly that that was not going to be the case. And ultimately I had to make a decision to not do it as a part-time job, but I was either going to have to step away from it totally, or I was going to have to fully immerse myself into the business, which ultimately is what I did.
I just want to circle back on a couple of things you just said there. So, number one, you said that you started as a hobby in your 20s. In my 20s, I was in school, I was doing college things, and that's one thing I want to talk about, how you got started at such an early age. And number two, you said that you were doing it part-time. So what were you doing as your full-time job, and why did you decide to go part-time into real estate investing?
Sure. So when I graduated high school, I was going to go to college to basically play football. I had lost my dad when I was 18, so I was sort of, reconciling with some personal issues, and really just felt like my heart was not in playing football anymore. And frankly, I had less than zero interest in going to class. I was a worker, just by nature. So I was not interested in partying. I was not interested in, drinking, doing drugs, any of that stuff. I wanted to make money. And I ultimately wanted to make, something of myself. That was my first and only priority. I was always in decent shape. I played sports, really from 8 years old up until 18 years old. So I felt like I could make quick and good money the right way by delivering value and offering a service to high school athletes, right? So me and my mother were battling, like when I was getting done with high school, I said, look, I'm going to get certified as a personal trainer, and I'm going to take the single bay garage, and I'm going to train kids out of that bay. And that business, took off.
This is in your mother's garage.
Yeah, so it was a single bay garage. I had a couple of dumbbells, I had some weights, and within probably 4 or 5 months, I had 30 kids paying me $400 a month to come train out of the garage. And when I look back in retrospect, ultimately I wasn't selling a service nearly as much as I was selling myself, right? So I was 18, 19, 20 years old, and really you're selling a kid, you're selling a coach, you're selling a parent on trust me with your kid, trust me with your son, trust me with your daughter. Not only am I not going to put them in harm's way, but I'm going to give them an edge. I'm going to give them something that will benefit them, and ultimately those sales lessons that, luckily I learned at a very young age, you carry those lessons, with you as you go on in life, no matter what you do, whether you're a dentist, whether you're a personal trainer, or you're buying real estate, you're raising money for something. Ultimately, getting people to believe in you is generally what separates the men from the boys, so to speak. And I was making good money as a personal trainer. My hours were a little weird. I would train kids from 2:30 in the afternoon till 7 o'clock at night. And I didn't have a lot going on during the day, really, because all my clients were in school. So once I started making some decent money doing that, I was bored. I have a lot of energy, and I thought, all right, you know what? I'm going to take some money. I'm going to go buy a 2-family, and I'm going to make some money while I sleep, so to speak. My money is going to make me money, and that's really how I got into the real estate business.
So how did you find real estate, though? Where did that idea transpire? Did you have family members that were in real estate? I mean, why real estate? Why not, coin-based vending machines, or, there's a multitude of different, ways that a budding entrepreneurial spirit could have went. Why real estate? Who was somebody that you saw that was successful? Just trying to kind of figure out how you landed on real estate.
Yeah, sure. So my dad was a builder. The building business, could be a little bit, call it more dangerous. My dad either had a lot of money or he had no money. He was always sort of in between selling a project and then needing a new one, or being in the middle of a project and then having no money. So I watched that growing up. Unfortunately, my dad was ill, so by the time he passed away, he didn't have a lot of money left. I definitely learned, I learned that real estate was something that I was comfortable with, watching it growing up. And I also learned that the way my dad did real estate was not how I wanted to do it. Right? So I always thought my father's business model was he was always as good as his next deal that he didn't do yet. And I believed that if I bought real estate and kept it, I wouldn't be as good as my next deal, always be as good as the work I've done. So at some point you create a big enough portfolio, you could conceptually stop needing to buy new things, where the builder's business model is you really can't ever stop buying new things, because that's all that makes you money. Whereas what I've bought continuously makes me money moving forward. Just very comfortable with the fact that it's a house, it's a 2-family house, it's a 6-family property, it's a 12-family, now I've got, 200 families. So always very comfortable with the fact that real estate really operationally is very pragmatic. There's a plumbing issue, you call a plumber, right? There's an electrical issue, you call a plumber. A roofing issue, you call a roofer. It conceptually just made sense to me. Obviously once I got in it, I realized which plumber to call. You need to know if they're qualified. You need to, have another set of, procedures. And
are they licensed?
Are they licensed? Are they going to show up when they said? Are they charging you 3 times what they should be charging you? So all those lessons came when I was in real estate. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, just being able to conceptually understand the process, or what I thought the process to be, and feeling comfortable with the bricks and mortar. And the fact that someone's living there owing me rent every month, not always paying me rent every month, but owing me rent every month, there was something very easy to understand about that, right? My business, I'm not sending people to the moon. I'm not hiring, guys to build rocket ships. It's very basic blocking and tackling. We're buying homes and we're renting them out to people at, in its simplest form. Everything else that comes on top of that, obviously is a part of the business, but it's really a very simple business, which made me very comfortable at a young age.
So if I read this correctly, even at a young age, it seems like your father's business, the building business, was a very market dependent. It was, you get at the end of a project is when you really see a windfall of cash. And then during that project, it's very, sink or swim in terms of cash flow. And it seems like at a very young age, you started wanting to invest for cash flow, right? Because it seems like, listen, if I'm getting rent every month and I know this is what my expenses are, theoretically, I should make this much money per month. So it seems like from a very young age, you were already investing for cash flow. Would that be a fair assessment? Now, do you remember your first real estate investment? How much down payment? How did you come up with that down payment? How old were you?
Yeah, so I think it was like 2008 or maybe 2007, and they were still doing some like quasi no doc loans. So I really got into my first piece of real estate with like very little money down.
Nice.
I don't remember what the program was. Definitely, I remember, and still now, owning multifamily real estate, in my opinion, right, it is a risk-averse investment. We're not hitting grand slams. We're not hitting home runs. Some of them you do. You do 50 deals. One of them is going to be considered a home run. Two of them are going to be considered a home run. But the reality of it is, and I remember this at 18 years old, 22 years old, 30 years old, now at 35 years old, I am very comfortable with the idea of hitting singles and doubles constantly. You want to hit singles and doubles as fast as possible, as many as possible, rinse and repeat, period. And ultimately, if you're doing that over and over and over and over again, and you're a guy like me where you're sleeping at that point in my life 4 hours a night, right? I'm working 20 hours in a day. Most people are working 8 hours in a day. They're taking bathroom breaks, showing up late, 2 lunches, whatever, right? So when you start to compound the amount of time and the amount of effort that you could be spending on hitting singles and doubles, I'm hitting 4 or 5 times the amount of singles and doubles on a given day as the average guy who's going to work, working 8 hours in a day, right? So I don't need to hit grand slams. I got to just hit 4 or 5 times the amount of singles and doubles over a given period of time as the average person. You start to do that math and you could see on paper, all right, well, why I own just under 2,000 units and starting from scratch with no money to speak of, etc. Well, that's how you get here.
I love that analogy. So singles and doubles, instead of going for home runs, I guess, cryptocurrency comes to mind, like Robinhood shares of AMC going through the roof. This is what people chasing the shiny coin, chasing the home runs. There is chance for immense wealth. If you invested $400,000 in Ethereum in 2016, it would be worth $338 million today, right? But singles and doubles generate runs. Singles and doubles consistently over and over and over generate runs. And if you can hit singles and doubles over and over again, you're still going to generate more runs than somebody that's just swinging for the fences every time and potentially striking out a lot of the time. So I really love that analogy. And that's very congruent with also that you said that you are risk averse, right? So that's another thing that we also talk about here in multifamily real estate, is that we love that the risk is mitigated. There's ways to mitigate, and you can achieve very high returns on a risk-adjusted basis. As busy professionals, we're taxed to the max. On this next video, we're gonna shed some light on what you can do as an investor on how to save money on taxes. Click on the next video.